Here we are, Music Row, Gus announced as he pulled the van into the parking lot. Wow, I didn't even expect it to be so gigantic, Luna gasped, looking at her surroundings. There were tourist attractions as far as her eye could see. Buildings everywhere, banners celebrating names of popular songs, a sculpture of life-size bronze depiction of a man sitting on his patio, and so much more. Where do we even start? Bridget exclaimed. Well, besides what you see out here, there are a number of studios we can visit. Famous artists record their songs. They hardly do hold a candle to dedicate records, in my humble opinion, but perhaps you could find them worth visiting. Gus chuckled. Who are the famous artists? Nia questioned. Oh, it's quite a few. Elvis Presley, Dolly Parton, Willie Nelson. Gus named a few. Dolly Parton? Sam exclaimed. Hell yeah! Sam loves Dolly. Bridget rolled her eyes. When she sang work into 9 to 5, I felt it in my soul, Sam said in a very intense voice. You don't work 9 to 5 though, Nia points out. I know, that's how powerful her music is, Sam responded. Ford found her behavior odd. Given what they have done, it was quite easy to label them as heartless monsters that they don't know how to have fun. But she supposed the witches had personality quirks. I'd love to look around outside for a while. Maybe we could visit the studio afterwards, Dusk suggested. Well, we may want to do in opposite order. I believe they close around 3:30 or 4, Gus informed. Okay, that's fine with me. Dusk shrugged. Maybe we could go out for dinner afterwards, since it's my last night here, Luna suggested. It'd be nice to go out to one more restaurant. Absolutely, Gus enjoined. If you enjoy Punch Pizza, they have a pizza place and the pizza is absolutely scrumptious. It's called Joey's House of Pizza. That sounds great, Thorne replied. Yeah, I could go for some pizza, Dusk agreed. Fine by me, Luna shrugged. Looks like we've only got an hour away before they close. Gus checked his watch. We better hurry if we want to see it today. Thorne and the others followed Gus alongside the sidewalk, lining up to a building, which had a sign affixated at the top that read RCA Victor Studio. The building was painted in brown with some white trim on the top of the building around the sign. As they entered the building, the girls then noticed pictures of musicians halfway in the hallway down towards the recording rooms. It ironically wasn't like what the girls were acquainted with, but seeing the dedicated records, Thorne recognized that a couple of musicians, namely Elvis and Dolly Parton, but there were quite a few of them that Thorne had no idea who they were. She noticed a couple more posters labeled Willie Nelson, Jim Reeves, and whoever she never heard of. There was so much to look at, even though it was tough for Thorne to know what to focus on. She simply followed Gus down the hall, which led to a set of doors. Gus veered off in the door of the right side of the hallway, and thus the others followed. He had led everyone into the room with the checkerboard floor. There was a large fancy-looking microscope, or microphone, perched on the stand in front of the middle of the room. A number of instruments were placed on the corner, including a piano, a guitar, and even a drum set. There were even several chairs lined up against the studios. Ford wasn't particularly sure if the tours were something that was previously set up for recording sessions. Colorful lights on the ceiling illuminated the entire room, creating a magical kind of glow. As they entered the room, the man wearing a black button-up shirt and tighty pants greeted them. Why, hello there, folks. My name is Tom, and I'll be your tour guide for you exploring Music City Row, the man greeted. And he had a very thick country accent. So what brings you here today, folks? Well, we're on a touring band that's performing tomorrow night, Dusk explained. Oh yeah, the freaking Hexed girls, Bridget added with a lots of pizza in her voice. Saying that her band name was if well known as the Beatles. Oh, I've heard of you guys. You're the new Ecoff band group that is taking up country by storm, Tom recognized. Well, it's great to have you all. Is this your first time at Music Row? It is for us, Nia said. Their manager Gus has been here before, though. Yes, and I've been stopped here a number of tours before, Gus informed. Wonderful. I'm so glad you all decided to stop by, because this is one of our few studios you could still take like the United States. So you all certainly came to the right place, Tom said. We still give tours in our studio, Gus playfully teased. That's my bad. I meant to say famous studio tours, Tom gestured back. Now there's a lot of history in here. See that piano over there? Thorne glanced at the fancy-looking piano at the corner. She stared, and the others all gave a nod. That right there is a 1942 Steinway. It was built in New York and started off at life at NBC for 15 years, and yet until it came here in 1957. Tom explained. The famous television network? Nia inquired. The very same. It was on Steve Allen's show called Tonight, and if you even hear what's cooler, that their piano was played by none other than the king himself, Tom exclaimed. George III? Sam replied in a joking manner. Nah, I'm talking about the one and only Elvis Presley, Tom clarified. Whoa, Dusk exclaimed. That's wicked. What's even more wicked is that the whole place was built with Elvis in mind. He come here all the time to record his music. In fact, you see those lights there? Tom then pointed at the red and green lights on the ceiling. Those were put to set the mood for Elvis, and since he had to start recording his Christmas album in the summer. Why so early? Luna asked. Well, not everyone could record their entire album in a week like you guys did. Gus chuckled. They did bring a tree, Christmas presents, and even air conditioned up so they could put him in a wintry mood, Tom continued. That's so neat. That is so pivotal place for Elvis's music, Thorne replied. So Elvis then stayed at our hotel and visit here? Where's all his old haunts? Bridget joked. You must be staying at Hemptridge, Tom guessed. Yes, we are, Gus confirmed. What's this over there? Dusk gasped, pointed at the large box at the shape of a cassette. That's a magnetic tape recorder, Dusk, Gus responded. They've most likely shifted this digital means as to recording that decade records. But back then, records were made by recording artists' high tape tech recorder, or at least it was high tech back then. Digitalization has certainly changed the landscape of music. Thorne nodded in agreement. In fact, there is a stairway out there that they used to ask artists to sing if they wanted to create an echo effect of their song. Wow, that is so crazy. Thorne couldn't imagine having to stand in the drafty staircase just to create an effect for her music. It was indeed amazing how technology had changed things so much in the world of music. Tom, what are all those chairs for? Luna politely asked. Are they just for tour groups? That's an excellent question, young lady, Tom exclaimed. Music executives could use here to gather here to listen to recording sessions. The room would be packed, and they would all have to stay quiet, of course, in order to make sure they were not being picked up by the tape recorder. That's so cool, Luna responded. Thank you. I want to tell you girls and man, but one thing about famous people never work here. Tom corrected himself, as he remembered Gus was the only male in his room. His name was Chet Atkins, and he did give a whole lot. He was in charge of A+R talent discovery, being managed by producing music collaborating with other artists, and even making his own music. A man that did everything. He became famous for playing the guitar in the bathroom at his high school, and he did eventually quit high school once he got discovered. So the music is, I don't remember where I'm getting at, but all he's saying is he's a pretty cool dude. That's super neat, Thorne smiled. The message took away from that quit school, Sam interjected. Tom ignored Sam's comment and continued with the tour. Now you probably all noticed the instruments are in here. Well, we had them for artists' convenience, so there was many artists recording here. There were around almost 50,000 songs recorded here over the years, and many of famous artists like Dolly Parton, who had her first studio recording session. Heck, even Elvis recorded alone 200 songs. I can't believe a single room could have so much history, Bridget exclaimed. Well, you better believe it, young lady, 'cause it ain't got no problem with the musical as one. But in my humble opinion, Tom answered, now that concludes the tour, as we're getting closing in a few minutes. If you're looking for other places to visit, I highly recommend visiting the Country Music Hall of Fame. Fern didn't want to say anything just to be rude, but she did sound drudgery to her. She had zero interest in country music. Thanks, we'll keep that in mind, Gus started. Thank you for the excellent tour, Tom. You're welcome, and good luck on your tour. I've been feeling you girls are going to be the next Dolly Parton. Well, if she was a girl group alongside two other girls, she'd perform rock music. Fern awkwardly stumbled over it himself to compliment the girls. She hated thinking about it. Fern's reaction first was, well, if we freeze certain superfans have their way. It had been relatively an eventful night, much to Fern's dislike. They visit the Country Hall Music of Fame, causing her to get bored out of her skull. None of the girls particularly enjoyed country music, but Fern hated with a passion. Now that she knew how Sam was felt about visiting that museum, Gus, Bridget, Nia, and Sam didn't seem to mind it. But even Dusk got a bit into learning about the artists back in the day. But afterwards, they headed off to Joey's house of pizza. Alright, here's your pizza, folks. The waiter places a large platter of supreme pizza on their table. It was the type of pizza they agreed. Dusk didn't particularly care for peppers. Luna didn't care for olives. But this way, everyone had their favorite toppings. They could just pick off the one or the two they didn't like. This pizza's gigantic, Luna gasped. The slices are practically as big as my head, Dusk said as she put the slice in her plate. They're so thick, too, Fern observed. The cheese was riding on top of the thick layer of meat and driver sauce. The crust was huggingly doughy and even seemed like it'd make a person feel full after taking a few bites. I'm gonna be full just after eating this one, Nia joked. The slices are indeed large, but I think it's the most excellent pizza I've ever had, Gus gave out his opinion. Luna took a bite of the pizza. You're right, Gus. This is amazing. Place just opened last year, Gus said between savoring his pizza. I have a feeling it'll be around here for a long time, though. So what are your plans for tomorrow? Nia inquired. Well, we've just got to book Luna's flight, Dusk said. Bridget looked a little bit tensed up after hearing Dusk's comment. Yeah, I was thinking, Luna may not be able to get a flight tomorrow on such a short notice. If you have to be here tomorrow, would you do another concert? Nia explored. I haven't thought about it, Luna admitted. Well, I suppose I can, if you absolutely need me to. I think it'd be nice if we did one last concert together, I think, Fern said, trying not to be mean while still following Bridget's orders. But just to do something to remember, because we didn't know all of this would be happening during our last concert. I actually had an idea, Luna. What if we tried a calming ritual before the concert? If you ended up being here, it might not do much, but it may help, Nia shrugged. Just a suggestion. Honestly, Fern thought that Nia was being far better stupidly manipulating all of them than Bridget. But she didn't visibly tense up or make mistakes like Bridget did. Bridget's behavior was still subdued, and even enough so that someone who didn't know far better than her true intentions probably wouldn't be able to figure them out. Except in Fern's case, due to a major slip-up, Nia was absolutely flawless at her chicanery. That actually is not a bad idea, Luna said, still seeming a bit cautious. We could try it, sure. Awesome, hopefully it helps a little, Nia cheerfully responded. What else is there around to do here, Gus? Fern asked. Well, there is a number of parks. Shelby Bottoms Park, which is dedicated to nature. Owen Bradley Park, a park dedicated to the famous musician, and Centennial Park. We can also explore the music scene on Music Row. I would recommend ASCAP, or perhaps simply just walk around the area a bit, Gus responded. I'd be up for all those things, Fern shrugged. Yeah, that sounds like fun, Dusk responded. We should all do it if we have time, Bridget said. Yeah, we've got a whole day after all, Nia reasoned. That sounds like neat, Luna said. I'll explore as much as I can until I have to leave. Fern knew that she wouldn't be able to leave. Bridget, Nia, and Sam would manipulate things just so they would have no other choice than to participate in so-called calming ritual that would manipulate in Luna to stay in. Thorn didn't know if she could ever forgive herself for manipulating her friend like that. It was time for another meeting of the 12 Blocks North Club, although the meetings every night were beginning to become the norm. Thorn knew they couldn't last forever. Sooner or later, they would have to make up a plan of how free of themselves of the control of the witches. Thorn just hoped it would be sooner rather than later. Even though she was getting used to sneaking out at night, she still felt nervous looking behind her every time she passed a block, worried that someone might be following her. Thankfully now she had Luna by her side, which brought her comfort a bit. "You've been doing such a great job playing your part, Luna," Thorn complimented. "Thanks. It was a brilliant idea to stage me leaving the band to trick the witches," Luna said. "I only wish I wasn't kinda already thinking about what I'm pretending to do. I'm not really as happy as doing this, Thorn." "I know," Thorn said, trying to put a brave front towards Luna's words that made her heart sink a little. "Maybe Bridget and Sam are manipulating this to be a horrible experience for you." Thorn immediately felt horrible about after saying this. She knew that it wasn't the case, but she really didn't want her friend to leave. While she wasn't manipulating her friend and was supportive of her decision, her thoughtless reply left her wondering, maybe she was manipulative like Bridget, Nia, and Sam. "I don't think that is," Luna said. "I just don't like the idea of touring. I thought I would. It's too much for my anxiety." "I'm sorry I should have said it, but I know it's not it. I'm a horrible person. I'm no better than Bridget. I just..." Thorn stuttered and teared up a bit. "Don't want you to leave us." "Aw, Thorn. You're not like as bad as Bridget or any of them. It's okay to be supportive of me while also having your emotions of how it impacts you. I get it," Luna promised. "Okay, I'm glad," Thorn sniffled, as she turned to the corner to the 8th Street. The street was relatively quiet, even though there were a lot of businesses that were located on this road. It was late at night, so all of them were closed, leaving people few reasons to travel on the road. "Hello, girls," Gus whispered, as he stood with them in front of another door to a small business. "I'd say our plan today was a success." "I guess, but it doesn't feel like it," Thorn admitted. "They're planning some fake calming ritual for Luna, but it's just a whole errand into staying in the band. I'm assuming they're just doing this so they could try to get her to leave her mind, but relax so they can manipulate it or something." "Well, we agree they can't manipulate minds," Luna questioned. "Yeah, but maybe they can make you feel so calm that you're more open to suggestion. Why else would they be doing a calming ritual? It's certainly not to relax you for the concert," Thorn analyzed. "I would argue that today was very much a success," Gus pointed out. "We found out that they're very likely they're not reading our minds during these meetings." "How did the conversation with Bridget go otherwise, Thorn?" "Good, I guess. She admittedly only to physically manipulate people, but she can't really make them feel things they don't actually feel," Thorn reported. "Excellent. So we don't have to worry about any emotional manipulation then?" Gus decided. "What if the calming ritual is part of their plan?" Luna worried. "I hardly think it's their master plan is to calm your nerves before the concert," Gus chuckled. "No, I mean, what if it was the sacrifice I read about?" Luna said, her right arm trembling with a bit of fear. "What if they made me so calm that I die?" "That's quite an interesting mental image," Thorn wondered, looking unsure of the process Luna's hypothesis. Gus then looked in deeper for a moment. "Well, Luna does have a point. As I said, I don't think they could be manipulative into you feeling you're so calm to be conscious, but as calmness is the feeling. However, you make a good observation that we don't know how the intentions behind their ritual is. Perhaps they'll act like it's a common ritual, then reveal the ritual for some completely different evil purpose." "That's a fair point," Thorn nodded. "How do we stop it, though? We don't know what they have planned, and I don't think we can manipulate them into revealing their plans. I think it's best all we do is remain vigilant until we're ready to act quickly. We must do anything we can to prevent their plan from happening at the first sign of something strange," Gus suggested. "That really isn't a plan, though. We're running out of time to plan how to stop them. They could carry out their evil plan at any day now," Luna brought up. "Unfortunately, there's no magic solution to this, no pun intended," Gus argued. "We don't know what they're planning, thus cannot come up with a specific way of stopping them. since they had quite literally been planning anything. Best thing we could do is act in solitary and be ready to defend ourselves and dusk on in a moment's notice. We should keep them up in case the charade of Luna leaving the band in an attempt to learn much about their plan and abilities as we can. The act educated and strategic way based on the anything we find out. If they try to get the amulet, keep it away from them. I know it's not a plan with any kind of certainty, but I think it's best if we're going to act, and given that we really don't know much about their abilities. That's kind of disappointing, Luna sighed, but I guess it's a kind of plan to get into solution like this. I guess you're right, Thorn said, feeling a bit defeated. She admittedly had hoped that meetings would eventually lead up to a magic solution. But she supposed Gus was right. All they could do is just take it by day until the deceit weapon was made, and as well as they hoped to come out as a terrifying solution alive. The black-haired goth felt a sense of dread when she gained consciousness the next morning in her bed. Today was the best-case scenario. She manipulated her best friend. Worst-case scenario. She manipulated her best friend her best friend would be killed by witches, and with a doubt the hardest situation Thorn has ever faced. Gus was right about what they would learn about the witches by continuing to deceive them, but she feared that the high cost may come at. She just wanted to take the day by a minute at a time. Thorn tried to pretend that it was a normal day, although what even was normal anymore? She had put on a Sowski and a Banshee's t-shirt and some blue jeans before heading down to breakfast. As Thorn immediately put together a room complete dresser, desk, and ottoman, she then admired the fact that the hotel looked just like a queen's palace, beautiful with chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Curtains hung at the window, and squeaky clean tile floor led to the breakfast room. She had just arrived just to overhear the last remark of Gus. Hotel, and that's when we head to the park. Perhaps we could have a big lunch, go to Music Row, followed by the Rocket Town, and set up for your concert. Gus laid out a suggestion for the whole day's schedule. Well, it sounds good to me, Luna said. Any progress on the flight? Thorn's eyes quickly have her eyes over to Bridget, attempt to cast a glance at her as subtly as possible. The pink-haired girl was a bit on edge. Kind of. I called the hotel phone, but they said they didn't have any openings until Friday, so I booked your flight for 8:40 a.m. Friday. Awesome, Luna smiled. Thank you so much for getting that sorted, Gus. Of course, Gus smiled. Alright, I'm all ready to go, Bridget announced. Thorn was quickly and incredibly suspicious about Bridget's eager demeanor. Surely it meant she was up to no good, or an anticipatory of calming and emotionally manipulated ritual coming up. Ready to go? Thorn teased, trying to make it more playful rather than suspicious or interrogative. I haven't eaten my breakfast yet. Well, grab a donut and let's get going. The day is young, and we've got so many exciting things to do, Bridget chirped. Sure, I'm ready. I've been down here for an hour at this point, and if not for Thorn sleeping forever, we would have left already. Dusk playfully lamentated. Thorn knew that Bridget would keep pushing until they left, and as if the type of manipulation person she was, so they simply have to choose to comply and follow the instructions. She luckily brought down her coat down with her, although she half expected it to leave quite that quickly. Thorn supposed it would be inevitable at this point. So she grabbed a small pack of free powdered donuts from the platter, and then followed the others upstairs. After 2 turns and 10 minutes in the car, the group had arrived at Centennial Park. Whoa, I thought we were in Nashville, not at Tens. Sam pointed out the large building with tons of pillars. Indeed, it looked like an ancient structure of some sort. Very similar to the world-famous Parthenon. Well, we are, but you're sort of right, Gus chuckled. This was actually built of a replica of the Parthenon in Greece. It houses the art museum, which we certainly don't have to explore if you girls feel like you've seen enough art. I think your opinions on museum and art. I really prefer not to visit another art museum. Yuck! Sam scoffed. Sam's right, Dusk agreed. We visit enough boring museums. Let's explore the park a little. Do we have to split off into groups again? And Bridget inquired. Sam, Nia, and I, and you four? Fine by me, Thorn shrugged. We'll see you guys in a bit. See you soon, Nia said, as the three witches began heading in the opposite direction. The park was pretty large with a path winding around the lake. Green shrubbery and bulky trees decorated the path around the centennial park. The path had given them an excellent view of the phenomenon. Fun fact, the lake we're walking around is Lake Warudka. It's actually one of the official, Gus pointed out. I'm sorry, but I'm not in the mood, Gus, Dusk said as her voice sounded kind of somber. Thorn was getting used to seeing Dusk becoming more defensive or angry to hide her emotional pain and sadness. So seeing her directly express what she was feeling in an invulnerable way it is now. This is going to be our last week as a band together. It is, but we'll figure it out. It's not like this is happening and that we're never talking about it again, Luna assured. But Bridget, Nia, and Sam seem to be not talking about it as well, Bridget observed. Very sweet and concerned for us, but that's how they always are. We're lucky to have them, honestly. Yeah, Thorn simply said, unsure of what else to say given her feelings. How the hell do you want to tell the media about this? Sam brought it up. Well, Dusk brought it up. I mean, you'll have to perform in, 2 more shows? Well, I was hoping for no more shows, but fine, we'll do 2 more. Luna caved in. Okay, thank you. And I mean, if you want to, don't do it if your tank and mental health is or something. Dusk backtracked. No, it's fine. Thank you for being supportive. Although I'm the one choosing to leave. I kind of hate to do this, Luna admitted. I'm not very happy that I'm having to give up the band earlier, but ultimately I think it's best. Good. You know what's best for you? You. Dusk came into Kurt with her words. Her demeanor was very indicative, and it was bothering Dusk. There was an awkward silence for a moment. The fact that the girls were close enough that the silences were just usually not as awkward as the silence made it more awkward. What do you want to eat for lunch? Thorn quickly attempted to change the subject, in order to hopefully get rid of some awkwardness. I'm not that hungry, Dusk sighed. Me neither, Luna admitted. There's a lovely restaurant called The Boundary that just opened a few years ago. They've got pretty much everything on the menu, from Italian to Chinese to Mexican, Gus suggested. That sounds amazing, Thorn exclaimed, trying to lighten up the mood in all honesty. Part of her motivation was raising up her own mood, and suppose that there was no harm in collectively raising their moods to processing her own. Okay, that's fine, Dusk shrugged. Her mood was clearly low due to the situation with Luna, that seemed to be causing Luna's mood to be low as well. Thorn supposed at least the two of them weren't fighting anymore. Alright, sure, Luna said with hints of depression in her voice. Let's return to Dusk's original question, Thorn interjected. What do we want to be telling the media? I think honestly the best way, Luna advised, is that I'm open to people knowing the whole story. Just say that I didn't enjoy touring very much and I just had stage fright performing in front of so many people at once, and the band isn't making me happy because of that. I would agree, Gus said. If you try to hide your feelings and make up stories, it's pretty easy for people to make assumptions and create drama when there isn't any. Okay, I'm open to that, but if you don't think that it will hurt the band at all, Dusk responded, we'll really miss you for the rest of the tour, and I guess we'll see you when we get back. The situation honestly felt so monumental to Thorn that she barely brought up the past of what happened today, much less till she got back. All she could really hope was that Dusk was right, and that everyone would be okay.